Drop, as Meg numbed as knowing her podcast is overshadowed. Contrast Edameni for Spotify up to $35 million. Meghan Markle's Archetype podcast appears to have dropped in popularity with the US listeners, according to Spotify's charts, with the latest drop outperformed by a collection of lullabies. The Duchess of Sussex digital offering, which is now 10 full episodes deep into its run, was once ranked at the platform's top show. But Meghan's latest episode, produced as a part of a reported £18 million deal between Spotify and she and Harry, was positioned at just 77 in the US charts at 1 p.m. today. As the edition, titled The Audacity of the Activist, saw her interview British actress Jamila Jamil and the American-Iranian star of X-Men and 24, Sohera Agandashlu, at 70. At the top moment, it is being outperformed by 8 hours of relaxing music for babies to fall asleep to. Overall, the podcast as a series is also ranked at number 22 in the American charts. And again, it had previously held the number 1 spot. Typically, new episodes come out every Tuesday, with a guest revealed then for the first time. It is possible this will lead to an improvement in the series' overall chart position that is sparked by more interest in the new content. In September, Mail Online told how Spotify has been accused of wrongly using its own official podcast chart to keep Meghan Markle at number 1, when she was lagging behind Joe Rogan and other stars in terms of the daily listeners. At the time, Archetypes was ranked as the top podcast in the US, the UK, and all of Spotify's main English-speaking markets, as the first 2 shows with Mariah Carey and Serena Williams are as low as 25, and no higher than 5 in the streaming giant's own top episodes rankings. But the subscribers accuse the company of massaging its own figures, or even manipulating its main chart to keep the Californian-based royal at the top. Mail Online had asked Spotify to comment. Spotify has 2 main charts, one for its top podcast, compiled with a number of measurements, including if they're rising newcomers, as well as a combination of overall follower counts and the number of recent unique listeners, as the episode ranking is determined exclusively by the number of unique listeners on that day. As in the US in September, Archetypes was ranked at number 1 in the podcast chart, despite her new episode with Mariah Carey, released on Tuesday, sitting at 12 in the episode chart, while the Duchess's first show with Serena Williams is at 25. Spotify's own data from that month had showed more British listeners were tuning in to Joe Rogan, Bob Beckett, and Josh Widdicombe's shows about parenting, and Jamie Lang and Sophie Abu's Nearly Wed's pod, that Archetypes. In the UK rankings, Meghan's first 2 shows were 8 and 12 in the terms of listeners, but Archetypes remained the number 1 ranked podcast in the UK